Thank you, Chairman. And I've 4 questions, and I'd like to welcome the Minister and officials here today. As you know, Minister, we've had numerous committee meetings on this issue, on the forestry issue, and it affects quite a large part of our country and our economy in our country. And we devote a lot of time, and it looks like we're not getting the figures or the targets that we had planned. And there's working groups meeting, but we've been told today they're not working. And do you think it's embarrassing for you as a Green Minister to hear that protests are being planned outside the Dáil by the forestry stakeholders due to inadequacies within your department in forestry, which sees us now not being in any way able to meet targets which will have a knock-on effect for our carbon targets? And Minister, you said a while ago, we look back as this as a blip. To the people who want to sow or fell forestry, this is a tsunami. It's a tsunami not being resolved. So I'd like you to answer that question. Do you feel it's embarrassing that that's what we're facing in this country at this present time? That's my first question.
Okay. Are the questions together, Deputy Collins, or do you want to ask them individually?
Individually possible, yeah.
Okay. Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Collins. I suppose, look, first, I think it's unfair to say that the working groups are not working. They're working incredibly hard. They are made up of a very much broad spectrum of stakeholders from across the forestry, environment, farmer groups, community groups, and it's difficult work because this is a very complex, difficult situation. And to be honest, I do want to say hats off to them because they have worked incredibly hard this past year. It's set up since last February, so it's a little over a year. Project Woodland's up and running, and they're still working together. So I will take a bit of offence to saying that they're not working, because they certainly are. And the question is, do I feel embarrassed? Look, we're all here working very hard, and I think everyone in this room too, to get a solution to forestry. And if it was as easy as some of the deputies and members maybe here think it is, we wouldn't have it solved. We'd actually be in a worse position. We'd be back to where we were in 2020 and worse. So we are making progress. I accept it's slow and it's frustrating, and I totally accept that, but we have to ultimately get to a position where we are working with the farmers, working with the communities, working with the industry, and working with the wider population. And I think to solely focus, and I think this is where perhaps we've made mistakes in the past, to solely focus, as many in this committee room do, on just commercial forestry is wrong, because that has got us into a lot of the difficulties we are in, because we've developed a model that has been built around planting and clear felling, and that doesn't blend well with our environment. It doesn't blend well with communities, and we have to think a bit beyond, outside the box. I'm saying we absolutely have to have a vibrant commercial sector in the next 30, 40, 50, 100 years. I'm saying that with no qualms at all, but maybe we have to start looking differently at how we do that. And there are proposals around continuous cover, and that's continuous cover commercial forestry. That takes a long while to get on board and get running, and we have to thin it in different ways and manage it in different ways. We have to look at different ways of doing it. Continuing to promote the same model we've been doing for the last 10, 15, 20 years isn't going to work. So we need people like you in this room to think outside the box in terms of how we get the sector on a road to future sustainability.
Okay, Deputy Collins.
Thank you. Second question is, have you looked at the Scottish model, which is running at a top level of efficiency? And would you consider taking your officials out to the department in Scotland to see how it's done correctly, so we can copy their model in Ireland?
Look, I'm quite sure my department officials have engaged quite extensively with their Scottish counterparts, and look, while there's a lot to learn and take on board from the Scottish model, as I said just not that long ago, there are quite significant differences between the Scottish model and our Irish model. Our average plantation size here is something like 7 hectares. In Scotland, it's 40. It's a complete, the scale is totally different, and one licence potentially for 40 hectares. I mean, it would take us, I can't even work it out, 6 or 7 licences here, and those are differences. Those are marked differences. The ownership of land in Scotland is different as well. So it's, you've big, huge plantations, big, huge, large, hundreds or thousands of hectares farm sizes. Here, as we know, the average farm size is, I don't know, 39 hectares or something like that.
Okay, third question, Minister. What's your views on the new forest strategy, and do you support continued commercial forestry and manufacturing timber products?
Look, I think the strategy, we're in the process of continuing to engage with different stakeholders. My department has had bilaterals with I think nearly every stakeholder who wants to engage with that process. We have engaged with Irish Rural Link, have communicated with communities. We've done a behaviour and attitudes, conducted I suppose a public attitude survey to forestry, and we're in the process of having a public consultation which is open till the end of April. We'll also have a sort of a mini citizens' assembly on forestry in May, where we'll have a deliberative dialogue over it. So we're doing everything we can to bring as many people on board to help us, I suppose, as a state, decide what we as a nation want from forestry. We absolutely need commercial forestry sector. It's completely essential, particularly when you look at why it was set up initially. It was remote rural areas that need jobs, and it has served that, and we need to make sure that continues. And there was one other little point. Can't remember, Deputy, what was your third piece there? I've forgotten.
Continued commercial forestry and manufacturing.
Manufacturing. I think the timber manufacturing thing is massive. We have a housing crisis continued. It's going to grow and grow, and we need to be building more homes simply from timber. It's low carbon. It displaces high carbon concrete and steel, and we absolutely need to be supporting that.
One other short question, Minister. The regulatory system is in need of reform. Are you committed to making changes to make it more efficient? Thank you.
Well, as the Deputy probably knows, we've just conducted a regulatory review with Philip Lee and Associates. Their draft report is now in front of members of the Forestry Policy Group. As I said, I suppose, look, unfortunately, there isn't a silver bullet to get us out of this, but I think there is some good stuff in that report. I think we're going to work with the members of the Forestry Policy Group and Project Woodland to tease out the most, I suppose, the potential there to absolutely make the system more efficient, to make the licensing process more appropriate. But look, that's going to be another couple of weeks before I think we've had that engagement from all the members. So look, we'll feed back into the committee when we have a bit more of an idea what we can run with. Thank you.